Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because today we are going straight into the chilling psychology behind one of the internet's absolute most infamous urban legends. We're looking at a real, documented encounter from 2008 that basically acts as a perfect blueprint for the anatomy of human fear.
Picture this for a second, okay? Imagine you're walking home alone at 2 a.m. The streets are totally empty. It's perfectly quiet. Now, what would you do if you realized, suddenly, that you weren't actually alone? That instant jarring shift from feeling completely isolated to realizing you are being perceived by someone else in the dark, it instantly pulls us into a state of really deep vulnerability.
So, Section 1, a walk in the dark. Setting the scene.
We're tracing back to a very specific incident in the United States in 2008. A guy is simply walking home late at night. The setting here is completely mundane, right? It's incredibly relatable and entirely devoid of any sort of supernatural stuff. It's literally a walk most of us have taken at some point. So he looks down the empty street and sees someone, just standing there, under a streetlight. At first, everything seems completely normal. You see someone on the street, your brain registers another human being in your environment, and you just keep walking. You totally expect them to act like a normal person out for a late-night stroll. But as we know in psychology, context is absolutely everything.
Which brings us to Section 2, the smiling stranger, and a totally warped reality.
As the witness gets closer, that mundane setting starts to warp. Think about it. We rely so heavily on social norms to feel safe out in public. People usually walk at a normal pace, they look ahead, they mind their own business. But this stranger, he was wearing these weird, old-fashioned clothes, which is immediately kind of off-putting. But then the witness noticed his face. His face had a huge smile that never changed. This right here pinpoints the exact moment psychological horror takes over. A smile is fundamentally supposed to be warm, inviting, a way to communicate friendliness. But a frozen, unchanging, massive smile from a complete stranger in the dead of night? That acts as a massive red flag to our primal brains. It's a huge signal that this person is not playing by the standard rules of human behavior.
And then, the tension really spikes, because the stranger actually begins to move. But he's not walking.
And he's definitely not running.
He is dancing. Just think about how deeply wrong this action is for the setting. You are alone, it's 2 a.m., and a man with a frozen smile is silently waltzing toward you on an empty sidewalk. It completely, utterly shatters predictability and leaves the witness totally ungrounded. And this brilliantly illustrates the uncanny valley of human movement. The source describes it so perfectly. His movements were slow, silent, and strangely unnatural. Let's break this down psychologically for a second. You have a frozen facial expression, bizarrely coordinated but slow dancing, absolute dead silence, and, crucially, he never once took his eyes off the witness. This combo completely strips away all our standard defensive scripts. We simply do not have a mental framework for how to deal with a silently dancing, intensely staring person in the dark.
Section 3, the pursuit. Because just when the witness thinks they understand the parameters, the rules completely change.
Look at how quickly this escalates. It all goes down over just 4 minutes, from spotting him at 2 a.m. to freezing in fear, which is a completely natural survival response to a threat you can't read. By 2:04 a.m., passive weirdness shifts into an active pursuit. The witness actively tries to break the tension, right? He crosses the street to avoid him, but the psychological escalation hits its peak. The threat is suddenly no longer passive.
Because when the witness crossed the street, the dancing man just stopped. He turned, and he slowly began following him. Still smiling, still completely silent. The sheer terror here is that the man clearly acknowledged the witness's attempt to escape, and he actively countered it, all while maintaining that horrifying silent grin. Now, the witness did eventually manage to escape and never saw the smiling man again, but man, the psychological mark was left permanently.
Moving into Section 4, viral internet terror and a shared fear.
So how did this become so incredibly famous? Well, the answer is right in this staggering number: thousands. After the story was posted online, thousands of people resonated with this very specific shared fear. They started coming forward claiming they had experienced almost identical, deeply unsettling encounters. It wasn't just an isolated incident anymore. It had tapped into a collective cultural nerve.
And it actually went even further than just stories. People started sharing bizarre security camera footage of people moving in really strange, unnatural ways late at night. The line between coincidence and connected incidents really started to blur. Were these copycats? Or is this some kind of weird, more common glitch in human behavior than we ever realized?
Section 5, analyzing the fear. Let's look at the unknown.
Why exactly does this trigger such a visceral response in us? I mean, who was this smiling man? Was he a mentally ill stranger who needed help? Was it someone playing an incredibly elaborate, deeply terrifying prank? Or is it something that simply can't be explained at all? The psychological dread here is rooted entirely in the unknown. Our brains are basically just meaning-making machines. When we can't categorize a threat, we panic. And the crazy thing is, to this day, nobody knows the answer. That total lack of resolution is exactly what makes the story lodge itself so deeply in our brains.
Section 6. No monsters needed. The power of unpredictability.
This is the ultimate takeaway about human fear right here. When we compare traditional monsters against unexplained human behavior, we see a fascinating shift. Traditional monsters, your vampires, werewolves, ghosts, they have established rules. You can fight them, you can hide from them, or you can ward them off. But unexplained human behavior, it violates the very foundation of our social reality. The absolute scariest stories out there don't rely on the supernatural. They rely on the complete and total breakdown of human predictability.
They just need one person acting in a way no one can explain. That is the terrifying genius of the smiling man. It's totally grounded. It's highly possible. It could literally happen to anyone walking home tonight. It proves that true horror isn't about claws and fangs. It's about looking at another human being and realizing you have absolutely no idea what they're going to do next.
So, let me leave you with this final, highly unsettling thought. If you ever find yourself walking alone at night, the streets are perfectly quiet, and you see someone standing under a streetlight in the distance, just smiling, will you keep walking? I really hope this explainer gave you a fascinating look into the psychology of fear. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and hey, stay safe out there.